Hello once again, this is Brother Teacher. Today's video is one unlike many of the videos that I normally do. To bring you up to breast in real time as I'm speaking to you, I believe in Minneapolis there's a court case going on where there is an abundance of individuals, both family, friends, and even media, presbyters, and so forth, outside of a courthouse where former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is being tried for the murder of an innocent man, George Floyd, in the month of May in the year of 2020, last year. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry that I'm feeling a certain way. I'm actually sad. But I have an optimistic hope that this trial is going to render a verdict that is going to ring out not only in America but throughout the world of how we can exercise justice when it concerns criminal acts of this sort or nature. A police officer has never, ever had the right to just simply take a life at will just because he or she felt like they were empowered to do so. Not being threatened, not in fear of their life, but to just arbitrarily say, I don't care anything about this other individual's life. So much so, I can choke, I can tase, I can run them down with my car, I can kneel on them to the point where they can't breathe any longer, and I can even shoot them to death in the street with no repercussions and just simply walk away unscathed and go home to my family. We hope that these days of criminal policing are over. Let me insert this. I've said before, if you haven't seen my earlier videos, then listen to this. We need police officers, decent, upstanding people, to be galvanized and support our communities and our businesses on one accord. But unfortunately, there are those that don't see things that way. They see things by color, by neighborhood, by economic status. And you wonder where they get this from. There are very decent human beings that are on our police forces and departments. There are. I know several decent men and women that are police officers, active duty now and even retired. Very upstanding people, loving people, considerate people. But again, unfortunately, that's not all police officers. There is a stain within all or most police departments, and that's called hatred for other people. And in most instances, those other people are people who are people of color. Let me just cut to the chase. Al Sharpton, Reverend Al Sharpton of the National Action Network, along with Benjamin Crump, attorney, and several others in George Floyd's family, are kneeling as I'm speaking for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which was the same amount of time that Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck, rendering George Floyd unconscious, then ultimately passing away. You can read about it in the paper when it's all said and done today. You can watch the live stream still going on right now. You can go back and see it later after it's aired. But ladies and gentlemen, there are people out there that will defend Derek Chauvin, and there are people who are trying to do that right now. How and why? The truth is the truth. It cannot be refuted, cannot be changed, it can't be doctored up to be something that it's not. It is the truth. Videos do not lie. You have eyewitnesses standing there pleading with the police officer to get him some help. Floyd, that is. But to no avail. He continued to kneel until the man died. He should be given the greatest punishment for murder that the system will allow, and the officers that assisted him should be punished as well. Needless to say, they should no longer be police officers anywhere. Someone might say, well, teacher, what about them having a livelihood if they're no longer police officers? What about their families? Dad doesn't have a job anymore. What about it? This system has always taken away poor people's livelihood by trumped up charges, by covering up the truth, by trying to vilify individuals who didn't have a record and trying to make them appear to be some sort of demon or criminal perpetually. As soon as a black man in America has ever done anything, major or minor, the first thing that the system does is go digging in records, trying to find something else to vilify that individual, to tear down that individual, to make it seem to the public, to the world, that an individual is not worth being in our society and that they should be locked away somewhere. Why is not that same justice meted out when it comes to police officers? Why have so many police officers been acquitted, been found not guilty of what was obviously blatant murder of black people, men and women and teens? Let's hope and pray today that justice, true justice, shall prevail. I didn't know this program was on today. It was breaking news. But let me tell you, it wasn't 2 or 3 minutes into this breaking news about George Floyd's murderer's trial that I began to tear up. Can't help it. You know why? We black folks, people, have been brutalized ever since the inception of this country. And it's time for a change. One of my favorite songs by Sam Cooke, the late Sam Cooke, is "A Change Is Gonna Come." I'm going to tell you today, coming from Brother Teacher to you, the world, a change has come. You have to have the thought in your mind first. A change has come. The impact that this murder has had on the world, not just America, but the world, and the coming together of so many people of all hues, blacks and whites, after the murder of George Floyd, is surreal. I think it is the most powerful thing that I have ever witnessed in my life in terms of humanity. It is. And I'm so proud of our country. I truly am. And I hope and I pray that all of us will continue to be that brotherhood that we're supposed to be here in America, and stop using race or the color of your brother's or sister's skin as a reason to separate you. Now, some might say, well, you're a racist. I've been called that once or twice in my entire life. I know you know I'm not. Those that know me. I've spoken out against white supremacists attacking and killing black people, police officers, even killing black people who are innocent, unarmed. Tamir Rice, 12 years old, killed by police. Wasn't an accident. Laquan McDonald in Chicago, 17 years old, shot 16 times by a police officer. He presented no threat. Sandra Bland goes to Texas for a job opportunity, gets pulled over by a police officer for a traffic stop. She ends up in jail for the night and then dead the next morning. And the conclusion was, the determined reason was for her dying was that she killed herself with a garbage bag in her cell. Alton Sterling, shot to death, gang style, 2 cops on top of him. Philando Castile, passenger in the car with his girlfriend. He had a concealed carry permit. Told the police officer. He was allowed to pull it out. Shot to death in the car. Walter Scott, South Carolina. Traffic stop. He got out the vehicle, began to run. Police officer stopped, positioned himself, shot him to death in the back. Sam Dubose, Cincinnati, Ohio, shot to death in his car by a university police officer who was out of his jurisdiction in the first place. And then he tried to cover it up and say that Dubose was trying to drag him down the street. Why are you putting your arm in someone's vehicle window in the first place, Mr. Police Officer? Breonna Taylor, shot to death in her home, minding her own business. Say it loud. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. Eric Garner, harassed by police officers in New York. He said, I just want y'all to stop bothering me. I'm not bothering anyone else. Why do you keep harassing me? Police officer comes behind him and puts him in a choke hold, an unlawful, illegal choke hold, and he suffocates. Similar to George Floyd, asphyxiation, mechanical, if you will. You're going to die that way. What about Mike Brown? You know, the list goes on and on and on and on. And Andre Hill, shot to death. He had a cell phone in his hand. He didn't bother anyone. Now, those are all black individuals, if you will, African Americans to some of you, if you choose to use that. Just because I brought up black folks being killed by police officers, does that mean that I'm racist? No, let me bring up another one that I've used many times. Daniel Shaver, shot to death by a police officer in the hallway of a hotel several years ago. He's white. He had left behind a wife and 2 children, pleading for his life. This was in Arizona. On his knees, given all types of commands and demands by the police officer. Cross your legs at the ankle. Crawl to me. I will shoot you. He shot him and he killed him. Was it warranted? The man had shorts on and a t-shirt. No weapon. There were 3 or 4 police officers standing in that hall with their weapons, their automatic weapons, trained on Daniel Shaver. He pleaded for his life. This was a white man, and he was shot to death in that hallway, and that police officer walked. So do you get what I'm saying? And when people start talking about new laws, new policing laws, how long has the police department been in existence? How long has policing been in existence? The institution. That you have to have more and more laws to stop you from taking the life of a citizen, of a person, a human being. How many more laws and rules and regulations do you need? Didn't you learn that from day one when you became a police officer? When the police institutions came into existence, didn't you learn that you don't just arbitrarily take a life just because you believe that you can or have the ability to do so? Didn't you learn that then? That should be foundational. That should be fundamental. We don't just take lives just because we can or think we have the power to do so. So what new law could you possibly have in policing that can make it better? You cannot change a man's heart when he hates another race or another color of man. You cannot legislate hatred. You can make all of the laws that you want to. And there is, speaking of a law, that's supposed to be hitting the Senate. It's in the House right now. George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. This bill is in the House, which holds all, it's a federal law, holds all police officers accountable when it comes to using lethal force. Holds them all accountable. This had better pass. I'm not going to say I hope it passed. It had better pass. But it's really too late. Why didn't this exist 50 years ago? Why? Why now? Anyway, I was venting. I just wanted to express my concern for our nation, our country, America. We have some cleaning up to do. And that cleaning up should have started a long time ago. But as I'm speaking right now, hopefully this will resonate with many of you. We can't change the world, ladies and gentlemen, but we can change us. We can begin one person at a time, starting with us. That's a start. And the George Floyd family, you are forever in my prayers, as are all of the other families of those that have lost their lives by the hand of a police officer that was not protecting and serving the community in which he or she served, by a police officer that was racist, if you will. So, again, just so you know before I leave, this is not all police officers. It is that one element that exists in all police departments. That's who I'm talking about. So for all of you that love your job, you get up every morning or evening to go to work to make a difference, a true difference in the world in which we all occupy. My hat goes off to you, and I love you all. But to those of you that are criminals yourself, to those of you who have no respect for yourselves or for human life, justice is going to get you. Eventually. It is. As sure as there's a God in heaven, justice is going to get you. So that was all I had to say. I'm glad I could restrain myself a bit, because before I began to do this video, I was really going through it, because I have children and I have grandchildren, and many of you listening to me right now have children and grandchildren, and even yourselves. Life is precious. We have one go at this thing called life, and no other human being or entity has a right to deprive us of life, especially when it's not anything that's been provoked and it's unwarranted. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. He loves you, and I love you. You have a great day, a blessed day, wherever you may be. This is Brother Teacher. I'm out.